I did want to say that what we're doing with this session, since the kids are, the teens are for the most part minors, is that we are filming the session, but we're not live webcasting it. And I've also talked to all of them about if they are 18 or older, we're going to have them sign a photo video release. If they're younger than 18, we had the parents sign photo and video releases for themselves and their family. So we should be covered that way. But we just didn't want to live webcast this and throw it out there for everybody to see. But we would like to capture it on film just for future things if we do have a DVD or something like that that we'd like to use. So, and I'd like to thank Ala for bringing that up and pointing it out to me. So, thank you. All right. So I think what we'll do is go around, and actually we can use the handheld mic for this, is just to have each of them tell us their name. You can just use first name, don't have to use last name. And just kind of maybe how old you are and what your experience has been with ALGS so far. Just have you had a transplant or not, things like that. Just a couple minutes to go around. And then we'll see what questions we have for our wonderful panel. So Darren?
So my name is Darren, and I'm sure a lot of you guys recognize me from the Game and Family Picnic my parents hosted every year. And just to reiterate, that's on the 27th of September. So everybody come. And so I was actually transplanted in '89. I had a liver transplant at CHOP. And then from then on, I've been seeing transplant specialist doctors. And overall, I'd say my experience with Alagille has been relatively positive, and I really don't have that many bad stories to tell about it. I'm 24. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Allison, and I'm 16. I had my transplant last year on October 19th. What? Oh, well, yeah, whatever. You're ahead. It's almost 2 years. I'll remind you guys. I had problems with Alagille once I got really sick when I had cirrhosis. After that, I wasn't before the cirrhosis. I wasn't really itchy or anything. I was just jaundice a little bit.
I'm Cameron, and I'm 12, and I did not have a transplant, but I did have a diversion.
Hi, I'm Anna. I'm 19 years old, and I've been really lucky with Alagille. I haven't had a transplant, haven't needed one. Hopefully I won't, and so far my liver has been stabilized. So.
Hi, I'm Nicolette. I'm 15. I do not have a diversion nor a transplant, nor am I on the list for a transplant. And my experience with Alagille has been very positive. So yeah.
Hi, I'm Patricia. I'm 16 years old. I had a liver transplant almost 6 years ago in 2007 when I was 8. Of course, before that, my experience with Alagille syndrome was mostly everybody's. I had jaundice, my eyes were yellow, I was very itchy, my bones were very deteriorated. But after the transplant, all of that, it was fixed, and my bone age is up to my age, and yeah, everything's fixed.
I'm Brianna, and I'm 20, and I had my liver transplant about 2.5 years ago, and my experience, I guess, with Alagille syndrome was okay in the beginning, and then when I got really, really sick, around when I wanted a transplant, because I was just so sick and depressed, I didn't want to continue with my life. It was really bad experience then, but the transplant was a really positive thing. My liver is working really well. I love having a new liver. It's the best thing ever. It's it was like being reborn and getting a whole new life and chance for living. So I'm happy I got it.
Hi, my name's Taylor. I'm 17. I actually don't have Alagille syndrome. My sister Carly does, and she has a really mild case. So hers, we've had a pretty good experience with it. All the other stuff that's tagged along, it has been the worst. Not the actual Alagille, it's just like the stuff that tags along with it.
So I'm Elena. I'm 23, so you're younger than Darren. I'm going to MC this, and Mom's going to walk around with the handheld mic so you guys can all ask questions, and then I'm just going to pass the little one around to all the teens so that they can answer. That way you guys can hear each other a little bit better and we're not yelling.
So what we wanted to do was just, we have our wonderful people up here, and we just wanted to open it up for whatever questions you have of them. Just if you have younger children, maybe you want to know, what it's like growing up with it, or if you have it, whatever. Just we're here to answer questions. I'm going to run over here.
So my first question is not for the children with Alagille, but the sister. I have, and like many, we have one Alagille child and other siblings with that. So although I have a lot of questions for the Alagille young adults here, from a mother's standpoint dealing with the Alagille child, my other daughter sometimes feels, I don't know really how to say it. What do you guys say about that? Cast aside maybe, or not intentionally feeling, they have their own journey, and although our children are traveling their Alagille journey, she also is in a unique position. What is your advice to give for that? And how can us parents learn to still be good parents to the child without Alagille?
Yeah, I think I remember it being worse when we were littler, just because that's when we were first figuring out, like when she had Alagilles and like what it was, and we were still like testing the waters kind of. So I think that's when it was a little worse. But I never really felt left out. I was 4 when she was born, so I was kind of I was still young, but I was a little bit older, so I kind of understood that she had something wrong with her, and that she wasn't like me, and she was different. And I think it's just how I see my sister. Like I love her lots, and I understand that she needs more attention than I do sometimes. Like I can do things that she won't be able to do, or she has to do stuff that I don't have to do. And my parents are really good at like having time for both of us. And I think trying to figure out how to word this. I don't know. I think it's just making sure that you have time for both kids. Like my parents, like I said, they're great at this. They have time for both of us, and she doesn't. They don't really treat us any different. Like they parent us the same. Me and her both mess up, and just because we, if she gets in trouble, she still gets in trouble. Like just because she has Alagille, she doesn't get special treatment or anything. So, and it's just making sure that like that I understand what's going on with her. Like that I can't, like I have to remind myself, oh yeah, she has Alagille. She has like, I have to remind myself that stuff for her isn't easy. So I just have to like look and be like, she has all these struggles and problems that I don't have. So like give her like a little bit more sympathy. And I'm not always the nicest sister because I'm a bigger sister. She gets on my nerves, but I love her. But I just have to, sometimes I just have to remind myself, oh yeah, she has all these problems, and I'm never gonna know the extent of them. Like I'll never get to go through the problems that she has.
Thank you.
About having siblings, or how you feel with your, Anna's got.
I'm actually number 4 of 5 kids, so and I'm the only one with Alagille. So I was raised, I never knew I was different. I had absolutely no idea until I got into elementary school and I got picked on. And it was
an awakening for me and my sister. My sister, who's closest in my age, is 14 months older than me. So she went, and teachers would ask her, well, your sister, she's itching. What does she need? And she's not the parent, and she had to say that. It was a learning experience for both of us, is learning that, she's not the parent. She's a sister, and yeah, she's healthy, but that doesn't mean she knows everything. It doesn't mean she can handle it. And I also learned that my sister's very protective of me, and I'm sure you feel the same way. If someone picks on your sister, that's not okay, and that's how my sister was. If someone picked on me, she wanted to handle it. Not in the very best method, but she wanted to. And, and so, with us, because we're really, really close because of that, though. And, yeah, like you said, when you're younger, there was times I'd come home from the hospital and I would have teddy bears and candy and she wouldn't. And she's admitted now that we're older, she's like, I kind of resented you a little bit. Like, you got the teddy bear. And she goes, but I'm older now and I understand why you were there and it wasn't fun. A teddy bear did not make up for the fact that you had all these tests and you were in the hospital. And, and so once you get older, it's just they understand is what I'm trying to say, is they know. And if you feel like it's a problem, just ask them. Once they get to the point where they can old enough to know and understand, ask them. Be like, look, if you feel left out, please tell me. Because that's how my sister, that's how we've always been. If she thinks I'm using Alagille as an excuse, she will tell me. Like, that does not stop you from doing chores. Like, and that's how it is. You just have to talk to them.
Did any of the rest of you want to say anything about it? Having siblings or how you interact with them? Okay. So, yeah.
Sorry, I just want to piggyback on that question. So I struggle with that so much, so thank you for asking that. But the flip side I struggle with is our younger daughter. We spend so much time with her going to the doctors, and, she gets special trips we go to Boston Children's, and that's great. And then, so we come home and we try to make sure we spend special time also with our older daughter. What I'm also struggling with is that my younger daughter's special time with mommy and daddy alone is so often going to doctors and having tests and all of those things. So I wondered if you might be able to share any experiences that you have about how we can make sure that her time is truly special and not just, how we balance that a little bit, if you have any experience with that.
So, you do a lot of trips to the hospital, but it's the little things after or before the hospital. Like, every time we'd come down to get blood work, me and my mom would go to McDonald's for ice cream. It was right in the hospital. It was something very small, but, it's the little things that you can do on the trip home. We would always stop and get chocolate on the way home. And it's the little things that you can do before or after that can make the trip special.
So I go to CHOP when I go to the doctors, and I've always really looked forward to it, especially when I was older, because I always went to Fork, and it was always like a trip that was really special, because afterwards, me and my family, we would just talk about, like how my experience was, and it was just a great bonding experience. So yeah.
Like for my sister, they used to always ask if I wanted to go with them. So we used to make it a family thing. Not so much now because it's harder when I'm in high school with finals and stuff. But we used to just go up as a family, and in the middle of tests and stuff, we would go out to eat or something. And so they brought me into it, which I think helped with that. Yeah, it helped with understanding, and it probably also helped her too. So it's not it's my parents just take me to the doctor, but they'll take her to somewhere else. And they always they'll get her a stuffed animal. She had to have blood work or something, just something little that reminds you can make it fun. And we take we used to take games, we'll take the iPad, we'll play games, we'll talk, have fun, just make it fun. You can make if you can make the hospital fun, do it.
Yeah, so with the after hospital trip, I think that's a really important thing actually to do, because it's not it's not just like, oh, I only get to really kind of have time with my parents when I'm just going to the hospital and doing these horrible things, going through this, but the time after, like when I go to Stanford, my mom and I kind of go to the mall after, and like we walk around there and get lunch and maybe buy something special, and that has just been like a really positive thing for me. I really appreciate that and value that, and that to me makes up for, you know, the hospital thing, and also puts like a positive spin on going to the hospital. So it's not like, oh, I have to go to the hospital and I'm gonna get my blood drawn and get stuck and everything, and it's a really negative experience. But it's like, oh, I'm going to the hospital, and it's not really something like you look forward to, but it's not like a, oh, I don't want to go, it's horrible, no, ah. You know, it's like, oh, okay, I'm going to go to the hospital, I'm going to, you know, get my blood drawn, and I'm going to go out with my mom afterwards. So that kind of just turns it into a really kind of positive thing, which I think is really important.
Hi. So my question is for those who have siblings. So we have Nicolette has a younger sibling who, they're about 3.5 years apart. And we used to think it was just his type A personality, but we feel like, because he doesn't have Alagille syndrome, but he's very protective of her, to the point where I feel like sometimes he's concerned about her well-being, that he needs to make sure that she stays healthy or nothing happens to her. I'm wondering, for those of you who have siblings, if you know whether your siblings are younger or older, did they ever feel that they were somehow responsible for you, not just your parents?
So, like I said earlier, my sister's only 14 months older than me, but we look like we're years apart. And it wasn't as much medical-wise when I was younger that she felt that, you know, my well-being was her responsibility. It was more socially, when I would get teased, and, you know, if I was feeling uncomfortable, if, you know, anything happened, I'd come home upset. And it was, you know, I view it now as perfectly normal. But, you know, she would tell me, you know, that it was different for her. It was a struggle, because not most older siblings, yeah, they are protective, but they don't have to deal with both at home with the parents and the medical and everything, and then at school socially, you know. And with her, you know, it's not, I wouldn't say it's a good thing that she had to deal with it. I mean, nothing, you know, Alagille's not fun for anyone. But, you know, I think she's the person she is now because of it. And I would say your son's going to grow from this, you know, because my sister, she can encounter anyone with a medical disability, a physical handicap, anything, and she's not shaken by it. Yes, very much so. And, you know, like for her, she doesn't see someone's disability or physical handicap before the person. And I think that's a really big deal, is that, you know, your son, if he ever meets anyone else with anything, or even if it's not obvious, he will be better, I won't say equipped, but sorta. He's dealt with it. It's his life, and he'll be a better person for it, in my opinion.
As my parents said, my brother is very protective of me, even if he's younger. And sometimes he gets a little carried away with that. But especially when like friends would come over, and especially boys, he would make sure, oh, don't touch her, don't like hit her, because, you know, she could break. And yeah. And you know, sometimes he would put kind of like make sure that I was okay, especially because my parents, when they would go to other people's houses, me and my brother would, you know, play in the backyard or something, and he would start climbing things, and I would be like, oh, can I go on that too? He's like, no, Nicolai, you can't, because you might fall. And it kind of teaches, you know, them to you know, make sure that their kids are okay, and their siblings, to make sure they don't get hurt. Yeah.
Hello? Okay. Anyway, I don't have any siblings, but I do have a cousin that's 2 years younger than me, and he's practically like my brother. And especially before the transplant, he would do the same as Nicolette's brother would do, like, don't touch her, oh, Patricia, don't climb that, you're gonna fall, you're gonna get really hurt and everything. And he was very protective. But as we grew older, and he saw that I could do things by myself and that I was more than capable of accomplishing things. It's sort of, I feel like it almost taught him that people, with syndromes or disabilities, they may need help, but at the same time, they're independent. Like, they can find new ways to do stuff themselves. So I think he got a new understanding, and he even told me, like, he has a new understanding about that. So I guess it teaches them that.
I was just saying that if you hold the microphone a little bit farther away from your mouth, then it won't get that static in it.
I think besides like siblings, like a lot of my like closest friends are like, don't touch her, you'll break her, and like be careful, don't squeeze her too tight, you're gonna like 'cause we're so tiny, but we're not gonna break. So there's like a lot. You should like choose like 3 closest friends to make sure they know everything, then not everybody know it, because some people are gonna be like, oh well, I don't care, and like walk away.
I was going to jump in, and when you pointed out the empathy thing, one thing that, I credit my mom and dad for doing a really good job as far as being even with my brothers and I, as, kind of, the understanding of, your sister's going to the hospital, your sister's going to a doctor's appointment. But one thing that I never really thought about was kind of the empathy and what it actually teaches the sibling growing up. And Ian, one of my brothers, they're twins and they're both 18, but one of his senior projects was they had to do this scrapbook, and they had to, I'm going to lose it probably because this is still, I can't believe he did it, but one of the topics was empathy. And he didn't tell me until later, but he chose me as the background of that topic. And when I read what he had to say, I was just blown away, because it's it's something that you pick up over your lifetime. And I think the siblings pick that up, that you guys do subtly learn that. And that's, a valuable lesson that not everybody gets to understand, is really what empathy is. And so, yeah, I think the siblings, as protective as they are, they do pick up on a lot of things, and it teaches them so many lessons. But that was something that, looking at him, I never really think to ask them, how does this affect you as a sibling? But to know that they actually learned and took something from it is pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's definitely not easy on siblings. I know we don't have it. They have it 10 times worse than we do. But for me, it's more like her, not physically. I try not to worry about her too much physically, because I know, my parents, they're the ones who, and the doctors, they can take care of that. And whenever she used to be in school, she used to get bullied and stuff, so that's what I'm more worried about, just as a big sister. And I know my friends, they worry about their little siblings too, being bullied. So that was more like me, oh, don't bully my sister, not just because she has Alagille syndrome, but because she's my sister. And I didn't want to worry about her too much physically, because I didn't want to put her in a box. Oh, you need to be in this box because you have this syndrome, so you can't do what other kids can. But definitely empathy, I know it's shown me I want to be a special education teacher, and it came from that, getting used to that and getting to see, this whole other thing. And they're not weird. They're normal kids. I've met some of them, and I can connect with them, not the same way that my sister can, but I can connect with them just like regular teenagers, and that's one of the points of my documentary, is just trying to show people, just because they have this, they're not any different than we are. Don't put them in a box because they have this thing. You're not going to catch it. It's not some bad thing. Just because they have it, it's not we can't talk to them and can't connect to them. Because, I've connected to her really well this weekend. I'm talking to her and the rest of them like I would any of my friends. So it's just shown me that, just because they have this and I don't, doesn't mean I can't talk to them and have to treat them any differently than I would my friends.
Hi. Excuse me. Thank you for sharing. My husband James and I have a foster child. She's been with us just about a year or so, and she is why we are here. She also has some developmental delays, and so what we're wondering is, what does the itching feel like? How can I relieve it? Because she cannot communicate to me, and I just don't know how to help her in the middle of the night when she seems like she's really struggling.
As far as the itching goes, I describe it to people kind of like when they ask me like, oh, what's it feel like to be itchy? I just say like it's kind of like having poison oak all over your body, and you're kind of just itchy all the time. I mean, it never really goes away. Like you can scratch one area, but you're just itchy everywhere, all the time. As far as like dealing with the itchiness, I like to stay really cool. Heat makes it worse. So if you keep like your your child really cool, that helps. For nighttime, like during hot weather especially, I would sleep on ice packs, and that really helped me. Like just be as cool as you can possibly get. Ice packs definitely help. Yeah, that's mainly it. Less clothing, just yeah. Don't wear a lot of clothing. Don't like I see some parents like with babies, they think, oh, my baby's gonna be cold, but actually heat makes the itching worse. So if you're trying to deal with like a younger child and they're really itchy at night or whatever, I would just dress them like in less clothing as possible. Like don't really worry about them getting freezing. Just like maybe like put a blanket, give them a blanket. But like I slept, with blankets on, but at the, end of the night or whatever, those blankets would be off. I usually would sleep with my feet hanging out of my bed, just to cool off, So yeah, as far as dealing with the itching, those are some tips. And if you want more, you can just come and talk to me after. I'll be happy to give you all my tricks of dealing with itching.
So yeah, like my experience was like the same. Like I would always itch, and it's just like it really never goes away. And like you feel relief for maybe a couple of minutes, and then it kind of just you scratch another spot, and then you scratch another spot, and it just never really goes away. But I remember when I used to itch constantly, what helps was like ice packs, keeping the room cool, and stuff like that. And what my mom used to do, which sometimes gave me relief, it was a nice cleanser too, is that there was this Aveeno product. It was like oatmeal, not real oatmeal. Yeah. And she would used to make baths for me. And as a kid, you love baths. So it was great. And that used to really help my skin, and that lasted for an hour. And then, no, it was actually really good for your skin, and that really helped me a lot. Anybody else? Okay.
Right. So when I was younger, my itching was really, really bad. I would just go out myself at night, and I couldn't fall asleep. And what really helped me was really moisturizing, because when you itch, you would not peel off the skin, but you would go at the moisturizer, and that kind of protects your skin from getting rashes or raw skin. So that really helped.
This might sound a little gross, but when I was younger and I would itch, I would itch a lot, and so and lotions would bother me they don't bother me now. When I was younger, it would bother me when they wouldn't soak in, and because I would itch and it wouldn't help, and so it was frustrating. And so my parents they would make oatmeal and they'd put it in a sock and they'd put it in the bath, and that might sound gross, but it helped so much because it wasn't the greasiness of the lotion, and I was in nice, warm water, but I wasn't too hot, and the oatmeal was very soothing, and I got to play with it too. So, that helped a lot.
One of the big things is to learn your fabrics, and because there are some breathable fabrics are good, and some fabrics will be, a little rougher, and the rougher fabrics are definitely itchier, and they just make it worse. And no matter how much scratching you do, it's not going to make it better. So what I always find is it's better to just sit down and take a couple deep breaths and focus on something else and not itch.
Yeah, I guess.
What I would say is like treat it like an allergy. Try and find what's making the person itch. Because what I had that made me itch was red dye and cheese. That's what made me itch.
Kind of similar to what Brianna said, one of the analogies that I use when I talk to the anatomy classes at U of O, when I give them a presentation, is Poison Oak's one that I've used, but I think for me it's always easier to explain it as imagine being covered in mosquito bites, head to toe, and trying to scratch them all 24/7, 365. I mean, most people have had a mosquito bite, not everybody's had poison oak, so that's why I use that analogy, but I kind of second a lot of what these guys have said about cold is really helpful. My room is usually one of the coldest rooms in the house, even now. And ice packs by my feet were a huge help. And fabrics, silk sheets were amazing when we discovered them. But yeah, definitely heat is a trigger. I think that's kind of something all of us can attest to, is that is one of the biggest triggers, because I don't know why, I have a feeling it might have to do with circulation and the fact that the hotter you are, the more your blood is moving around. And so for me, it was always try to stay as cool as possible, even if it seemed a little bit ridiculous, but.
No, she used to sleep with, I'd put ice packs on her feet at night. And also, when Elena would come home from school, and the first thing she would do was kick off her shoes and rub her feet on the carpet, because that was, yeah. All right. And so what I started doing was she would come home, and I would take a little, like those plastic tubs that they give you in the hospital or whatever, and I'd put ice water in it. And instead of her rubbing her feet on the carpet, I'd stick her feet in the ice water. And that seemed to help too. So all the tricks of the trade. Yeah.
Hi, my daughter's only 14 months old, so we're at the start of this. And as parents right now, to see you guys and imagine them being older is just, it's hard to imagine her being older. And we want to just make sure we're doing everything right now. And so I guess my question is, as you look back, what is some of your earliest memories of Alagille's, and maybe as a child, what was your overall feeling? What were those feelings like? And if they were negative, what do you think would have helped you, or maybe what you would hope your parents would have done to make it more positive, or just make a better memory for you?
One of the first couple memories, realizing that I knew, okay, I'm a child, the first memories you have, these are my parents, kind of a thing, you're discovering things. And then I realized I was a little bit different. My eyes were yellow, my skin was very yellow, and I looked at other kids, and theirs weren't. There were different skin colors, their eyes were white. So I realized over time that I was different in some way. I didn't exactly know what Alagille syndrome was. I just knew my parents had taught me. But aside from that, I think the best thing is just to let your child know what they have, and because that really helped me. Because when kids would come up to me, or even adults would come up to me, they they wouldn't say what's wrong with you, but why is your skin yellow? Why are your eyes yellow? Why do you itch? Why is this, and that? I would tell them all that my parents told me, because to the best answer I gave, I have Alagille syndrome, it's a multi-organ disease, this is why. So I think it's just best to let them know what they have, understand what they have, and how they're not necessarily different, but they have to do different things, and they look a certain way because of this kind of a thing. That just helped me understand it and comprehend it more. So yeah.
like I said earlier, I was one of 5, so, and the rest of them were healthy. And I think the biggest thing for me was I was never raised as an Alagille kid, if that makes any sense. I was raised as a normal child. I just knew I couldn't do some things. And it wasn't even that I was told that. It was like, okay, Anna, instead of, helping Dad lift this, you're going to go and load the dishwasher. Or, it was just simple things like that. And I think my earliest memory was with Alagille was probably in school, like you said, and I noticed it myself, is, because when I was growing up, I thought it was normal for someone to have yellow skin and someone to have yellow eyes and, to be that short and everything. And I got to school and, it wasn't that way. And it was, I hate to say it was made known to me by my peers, and not always in a negative way. It just was what it was. And, I was the little one, and that was fine. But it was just, like you said, I think you don't want to tell them too much because it is a scary disease. And at a young age, it can be very, very overwhelming. But I think being honest with them and telling them, you have this, but making it a positive. You don't want to say you have this and everything that goes with it. You want to say, all right, you have this, and this explains why you're short or why you're yellow or, why you can't play contact sports or, and, also twisting it and being like, this is why you get to go to the doctor and then you get to go have pizza, and, say this is why you have so many stuffed animals, and making it into a positive because you don't want at such a young age for it to be a huge negative weight on their shoulders. But like you said, it does, an explanation is very important as well.
I don't really remember when I was in elementary school. I more remember when I was in middle school, and I wasn't as yet yellow, but I still was, and people would come up to me and say, oh, why are your eyes yellow? And me personally, I just ignored it. I said, I don't know. That's weird. I don't know if that was the best thing, but I tried not to think about it. And no, I don't know if it worked, but I did tell my closest friends what I had, but I try to put it in a way that doesn't sound so scary, like I have a heart condition or I have a liver condition, and I'm yellow because my bile doesn't drain properly, and it doesn't drain, and I would explain I was sure because of all those things, and I just wouldn't come up and say, oh, I have Alagille syndrome, because that is a little, too forward to people, so yeah.
Just like what Nicolette said, like in middle school, when people would, like, my one friend, he would go, why are your eyes green? Like, and I would go, I have a liver disease. And he goes, whoa, I'm really sorry. And I'm like, it's okay, you didn't know. And he's like, that's really cool. Like the white, he's like, you're like the Incredible Hulk.
So both my girls, I have twins, are both just finished the 4th grade, so I'm gearing this towards you, the 12-year-old there. Because you're around that age now, we find, and we had discussed this in a couple other groups, that when a substitute teacher comes in and they don't really know, how to handle it, and they might say, don't scratch there, or my daughter might have her hand in her pants on her behind because she's so itchy, and you guys know what I'm saying. So we're very lucky in that we were at a school that they know all the kids. They grew up with all those kids all through kindergarten and stuff. So the children are okay. They're getting to a point where they're getting to the age where some people of other kids are starting to say little comments. But right now we're really struggling with authority figures in the school, and not in a negative way, but they don't know what to say, or how do you react to a teacher telling you, don't scratch, or here, I have some lotion in my purse, try this, or you can't go to the bathroom right now, you need to wait, whatever it may be. How are you handling that? And what do you say to the teachers? And how do you address the other children starting to maybe say things to you in a more negative way?
What I would do is I would tell the teacher if they were to ask me to stop scratching or something like that. I'd just say, okay, but I can't really stop because you know what it feels like to be scratching all the time if you had poison oak or mosquito bites. So you know what it feels like. So I can't stop it.
Like what you said with the like substitutes, I would make sure like the real teacher tells them or writes a little note, 'cause that's what my teachers do, or make sure like mostly everybody, like the principal and like most of the teachers, like when you go into like middle school and they switch teachers, make sure all of them know, like have a meeting with them. Like that's what me and my mom do. And if they have to go to the bathroom, be like, I'm special, I have to go. That's what my teacher says. She's like, there's a certain time that we can't leave different blocks or periods. And I asked her and she said, go ahead, and everybody's like, why does she get to go? I'm special.
I actually had to deal with a substitute when I was very young, and I took my shoes off to scratch, and she started fussing me. And she goes, you can't take your shoes off. And I said, well, I have a rare liver condition called Alagille syndrome. And she goes, you made that up. I'm so creative, thank you. so what my mom ended up doing was, because you don't know what subs are going to come. You don't know if a teacher, if it's last minute, they're not going to have a chance to talk to the sub. So what we did was we had a teacher, we wrote up a thing and they taped it in a part of their desk. And if they questioned me, I was like, okay, you need to go look at this. I am that student. There is my picture. Here's my condition. I have the right to take off my shoes, to go use the bathroom, to itch. And that way, no matter what happens, and that was the thing, it was my responsibility, was if they questioned me, I had to, advocate for myself and say, you need to go look in your desk.
I was just curious as to how many of you actually are you in a public school? Who's homeschooled? We've had a rough patch through middle school, and with other developments that aren't really related to Alagille's, with chronic fatigue and missing lots, and trying homebound, and that didn't work. Like, are you in public school, and just anybody has anything to say on that?
Well, in March of my 8th grade year, I got a splenic infarct, and that, when I had my cirrhosis, my, part of my liver was dying, so, the blood couldn't go through. So my spleen actually made, a new vessel by itself, and that's extremely painful. So I didn't eat for a whole week, and I lost 7 pounds. So I had to get an NG tube, and I was out for most of my school year. And they said, well, you have to make it up. And I was like, okay. So I did the homebound. That was really hard because you had to, schedule everything. And then once high school started back up, I went to high school, and I had my NG tube. And I didn't really, other kids would stare at me, the older people would stare at me, and I would be like, if you want to ask me, you can ask me. Or I would go up to them and ask them, what are you staring at, if you want to ask me questions. But it is really hard to, go from, homebound and then go back to public school. I'm still in my public school, in my high school. I'm going into my junior year now. So I would just, trying to think. Yeah, you have to really, follow up with the school.
A year.
Yeah, the whole rest of my 8th grade. But I still went. I went to the Washington D.C. trip. I came here, and I had to get one of my parents to come with me because they were like, I don't know if you could come, and I was like, okay, I'll still go with my parent. But I would just make sure the school understands everything. Me and my mom were on top of the school and made sure they knew everything with the homebound.
Play with them a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I would just be you need to tell them everything that goes on. Even when she's sick, I was sick.
Go to the administration. Go to your school board.
I would like still like talk to them about it, because what? Like, I still get sick, and I was sick for what, a week or two from my surgery, or even when school ended, I was sick, and they would just make sure they send work home, and they keep up with you, like all your teachers keep up with you, and if you need help, make sure like they know you need help. Because when I had my transplant, I couldn't go in school right away, so they like wiped down the whole. There's like in the guidance room, there's like a small room, so they wiped down the whole room. Like my teachers would come in, and like they would help me with my schoolwork, and they give me more. And then just make sure that like you have time to like make sure they give you time to do everything, because they can't hold you back because she's sick all the time.
Well, I've been in public school all my life, and so I can't really speak for being homebound, but I did have a cardiac cath during the summer, especially before 5th grade, and I know I still had like a scar on in my groin, and I couldn't hold my bag, so I had a para, and she held it for me. And some kids would ask like, oh, like why is she holding your bag? And I would tell them, oh, I had surgery, and they're like, oh, okay, sorry. But I guess my parents can speak more for how they told the school about that.
Yeah, we can't. She just missed a lot of school from having other things like chronic fatigue from mono and just not able to go. And homebound is not a long-term solution because it's just not, it's 2 hours a week. So I was just wondering, like, who homeschools, because we're really considering that. When they're sick, and it takes weeks to get over, and she's just behind, and we don't want that. So I just wondered if you guys had that experience, and, if anybody's homeschooled, if that helped.
I remember when I had my transplant, I was in the hospital for 3 straight months, so obviously I missed a lot of school. And even after that, I didn't go back to school right away. I still stayed maybe another 2-3 weeks at home because, I had no immune system, and I was just kind of fresh out of surgery type of a thing. And still, I would go to school half days, but then miss a week, half days, miss a week kind of stuff. And before I knew it, I had missed a lot of the year. So what I had to do is that during the hospital, when I was, feeling okay, I would catch up on my homework. I would do certain math lessons, the basics, the more important stuff like math and literature and stuff like that. With actually my hospital provided a teacher that would teach me those stuff. And then when I stayed home, I didn't have a teacher, but what I had to do is I had to go to summer school and learn more on basically the same thing, math and the math concepts for that year in literature, and how to write, how to read, how to structure a sentence properly and stuff like that.
They also have online schools where the Board of Education, in New York it's called Board of Education, but I don't know if this is, if it's part of the IEP or not, but if the child, because like you said, 2 hours of instruction is not enough. They're not going to be learning what they would learn in school. They do, by law, have to give you what they call a virtual classroom. And that's where she would log on online, get the lessons online, so it would be at her convenience, at her, when she has time. They put the lessons online, they recorded, they have YouTube channels, they have, full lessons for her age group and for her class, and then the instructor would just send over the materials, like the tests and things she would have to take. So she's really getting her entire education, but she's getting it in a way that's appropriate for her. And if your district doesn't do it, you do. Unfortunately, with education systems, you have to fight for things that you're entitled to. But the virtual classrooms are what they're called, and you are, by law, mandated. If that's the best option for her, they have to provide it. First you go to your district, And if that doesn't work, then you have to go to your county. And if that doesn't work, then you have to go to your state. But on the federal level, with No Child Left Behind, they have to provide a free and appropriate education. And 2 hours of classroom time does not substitute a full day of education. So that's therefore inappropriate. So, yeah.
Okay, well, we have about 5 more minutes. So, yeah, I was going to ask them. So, as a parting thing, I guess, what I want you all to do is, what would be your piece of advice for those parents who have younger kids who are growing up and are going to be in your shoes shortly? Yes, we can pass it around. I'm going to pass the mic around. And just what's your parting thought, your pearl of advice for our parents out here?
Well, I think one thing that's important to remember is that every situation is different, and that you just kind of have to go along with it and try and do the best you can, and remember that your kid is still just a kid that just wants to have fun and enjoy themselves. So despite all this, they are probably still happy and okay with most of it, even though you might not think so.
Yeah, like just make sure they're always happy and smiling. If they're always down, just like take them out somewhere. Make sure like every like situation is like not bad situations, but like you have good like family fun, like fun stuff, or like just having fun with them and talking with them, and just I don't know, just let them not do whatever, but like let them like be free and don't be like not so protective, but like just let them do what they want.
One thing is try not to do so many contact sports, because that's one of the big things, and don't live their life for them.
Mine's more for like if you're looking towards older like teens like we are. It's hard because no one else has it. That, you know, for me, no one else in my school had it. You know, so no one can really relate to it. So, and it's very easy to let it be an excuse for things. And so me and my mom, we learned that Alagille is a reason. It's not an excuse. You know, so, you know, the reason for not playing contact sports is Alagille. It's not an excuse to not do chores. You know, it's not an excuse to, you know, do poorly on something and not giving all your effort. And like she said, you know, with let them live, you know. And I know it's scary, and trust me, when you get to this age, we know how scary it is, but we're also our age. I'm 19. You know, I'm 19 and I'm Anna before I'm Alagille syndrome kid. And that's how it is. And I know it's hard because, especially for parents, you're in the medical stuff all the time, you know, and you have to take a step back and realize, you know, we're kids, and, you know, we want to live our life and not an Alagille life. We want to live our life.
For people who have parents who have younger kids who are like going through a horrible time, it does get better when you get older. And also just try to make them live a normal life, whatever normal really is, and you know, just let them have fun and not think about, oh, I have a disease. Don't let them like block you from having a good life.
Like, I mean, for sure, like, they should always be aware, unfortunately, like, they have this disease that, well, not really a disease, but syndrome that prevents you from doing certain things. Like, I can't, like, always do what I want. Like, a regular child can't always do what they want. But sometimes, like, as well as reminders that they have to be careful, they have to make sure that they don't miss their meds, or else they will become sick and stuff like that. Just sort of let them free. And like everyone was saying, that's really, really scary. I know it's scary. I know, like, every single time, even if I go to the mall, my mom like any mom, worries, like what if this, what if that happens and stuff like that. And even I horseback ride, so that's kind of scary for my mom as well, because I could fall like any other person. I could get injured and stuff. But I think it's also obviously important that they do discover themselves, that they do live their life, that they do discover, oh, I love to be creative, I love to draw and stuff. Or even I'm a thrill seeker, I want to go on roller coasters all the time. Of course, like maybe not so much contact sports like football, like that's definitely a no-no. But just discovering that this syndrome doesn't define them, that they can go to better things, that they still need to be careful, they still need to keep in mind, you know, yes, I have it. You know, I can't change it. I wish I could, but it's there. So I always have to keep in mind that it's there, but I don't want it holding me back, sort of a thing.
Yeah, I think the most important part, I guess, is to try to live, just don't really worry. Like, speaking for, I guess, kid-wise, just, you don't really have to, don't worry so much. Don't let it control your life. You're living, you're alive, you know, just try to enjoy life. You don't have to let it overwhelm you, you know? There's so much that happens to you. You go to the doctors, blah, blah, you know, but just don't let it control you. You don't have to focus on, like, oh, I have this is, you know, I'm different. Don't focus on that. That's not a fun thing. It's not a fun thing to, like, wake up every morning like, oh God, I'm different. Gotta go to school with all these normal people. Deal with all of them. You know, yeah. Don't even worry. I think just be free and enjoy life and know your limits. Like, of course, you know, definitely know your limits. Take your medicine. That's really important. I'm just saying, you know, yeah. Even if you, like, feel like, oh, I'm feeling great today, you know, maybe I don't actually need to take it. I'm serious. Take your medicine. It's so important. You know, it keeps you alive. It keeps that day, that happy day. And I think that's really important to recognize, even though you're feeling well that day. Just know that my medicine is going to give me more days like this, more happy days. And also, I think it's also important to, I think when, like, we go to school and we're surrounded by people who don't understand our journey or share our experiences and look different than us, or we look different than them, you know, it's easy to fall into this, oh, I'm the only one in the world, and you can feel really isolated and alone. And I think it's really important that you remind yourself, and I guess parents remind your children, that they're not alone. You're not alone. There are other people, all, you know, a whole community that is open and there for you. And we can support you. You can, you know, we can connect on so many different things now with all this social media. And if you're having a bad day, you can contact one of us. Be like, you know, this is what's happened to me at school, and what's going on with you. You know, I will be more than happy to talk to any of you at all. Like, if you're having a bad day, come talk to me. Come talk to me. I'm a great listener. I love to listen to people. I love to connect with them, and I love to help them. And if you feel down and alone, that's not a good place to be. And I totally understand that, because I was in that place. And I think it's really important to actually find the connection and realize that you are not alone in this world. There are other people that, yes, maybe they have like a different experience, but it's all, we've been there. We know. And I think that's really, really important. Just, not to get into that place, which I think is really easy to go there. And I think that's the most important thing ever. It's just like, there are people there for you.
Mine kind of goes along with hers. Just the biggest thing for our family was the community. Like, this community is really great. Like, we all go through the same thing together. People have different experiences, yeah, but we all connect in the same way, whether it's parents, siblings, or people who actually have it. And not only just this community, just finding a great community that's around you. I know for us, we have our church, and even though they don't understand like firsthand what we're going through, they're really supportive of us in different ways. Like, they're just like praying for us constantly, and just there to talk to us. Like, just find people who are going to be really supportive, no matter what you go through. Like, they love us no matter what we go through, and just like reminding ourselves that Alagille syndrome isn't a bad thing. Like, yeah, there's hard times in it, and we all struggle, and especially my sister. But one thing she says that I love that she says is, I wouldn't change having Alagille syndrome. Like, even though it's hard, I wouldn't want to go back, because my story has impacted so many people and changed their lives. So just trying to take like that look on it, instead of looking, oh, I have this awful thing and it's really, really bad. Yeah, you have some bad days, and yeah, some days she wants to change it, but most of the time she says, I wouldn't want to trade this life for anything. Like, I wouldn't want to change it. I've got to meet people who I would never meet before, and I've got to, my story has impacted other people's lives. So that's I love that about her, that she just gets to take that look on stuff. So that's really important, like helping them see that, yes, there's bad things in it, but let's look at all like the really good things that's come from it.
And if you go to amusement parks, go to the guest services, and you will cut in front of every line.
All right, so let's give them a hand. Great. And thank you all for doing this for us.